Hey everyone, welcome back to week two of our video series of just kind of telling our story with foster care. And so the first week was kind of more about the why we got into foster care and some of
Mhm.
those first earlier steps that God kind of put on our heart. And this week is more about some more of the practical things of like our first licensing steps and our first placement and our foster shower and those kind of exciting events that happened with it that we got to experience because we entered into parenting through foster care. So yeah, we're thankful that you're here and you're joining back in. And please put comments on the videos, message us if you have any thoughts or questions about foster care, adoption, and anything that would relate to this content. We'd be happy and love to dialogue with you about those things.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. So, like Carol said, we went to kind of go into the next part of our journey. So to recap from last week, we got licensed in May of 2018. We didn't know exactly when we were going to officially be licensed. Sometimes when licensing sends it off to be further approved by Lansing, it takes a minute. And so we told them, when this does happen, when we do get licensed, we have some prearranged plans in the spring. So how about we hold off until the beginning of June? So we said, our official ready to accept a kid day would be June 11th. And so we knew that we had time to kind of wrap up the things that we had planned and be ready for a child by that day. Um, and so one of the things that we had planned was our baby shower, so our foster baby shower. That was planned for Thursday, which was kind of unique, a Thursday evening on June 7th, and that's one day after our anniversary. Would have been a 3-year anniversary at that point. And so we had our shower, and it was just incredible. Like, it was Dr. Seuss theme per my request, and our family and friends just did an incredible job decorating it and making it adorable. And the tables were decorated with Horton Hears a Who and
And each
Fox and
table was a different
Socks
story
and
and had the book as a centerpiece. It was really cute.
yeah. And so it was amazing, just especially for Thursday night, which again is unique. We appreciated everyone that came out and just supported us. It was really cool. And just too, like the attention that needed to be given towards the gifts that we received is just really cool. Just like, it makes me feel so appreciative of everyone, because we had the age range of 0 to 3, one child, at least to begin with, and boy or girl. And when you think about, like, okay, that it's kind of within the same age range. That's actually, it opens up so many different things that you can get, can't get. And we were wanting to avoid books and clothes that said like mommy and daddy on them, just because we didn't know what the situation would bring. And so we made a registry and people followed it. And then they also added some other thoughtful gifts that fit within it. And it just was really incredible to receive all those gifts and all the support and encouragement from everyone in our life that are excited for us in this new journey. So, so now as to kind of the unraveling of ongoing events. So we had our shower on the 7th, and we worked on the 7th. Like I said, it was a Thursday. We worked all day, had the shower in the evening, and obviously we were exhausted afterwards. We went right to bed when we got home. And then the next day, Friday, we went to work, and I get off at 1 o'clock on Fridays, and so I went to my dad's office to print off some stuff, and I was, some stuff for the shower there's the thank you cards from the shower, and I knew, okay, we could get a call as soon as Monday, but I also knew it could take days, weeks, months to get a child within that specification range. But anyways, I wanted to utilize my time, so I went to his office and I was making that and getting busy doing all the stuff. And I was in conversation with someone at the office, and kind of half paying attention, looked down at my phone, and as a text message went off, and it was an unknown number, and the words that captured my attention was baby and placement. And then I was like, hold on. And I read more, and they asked for, do you want to take placement of an 11-month-old baby? And had a little bit of details about the child. And I was like, okay, hold on. And so the conversation obviously stopped with that person. And we I proceeded to call that worker who was doing placement, and she said, she was looking for a home for this child who was in a respite home, meaning who had him at the people who had him at the time only agreed to take him for a few days, and so they had us in mind to make like a long-term placement with us, but they knew we weren't open till the 11th. They didn't know if we were on vacation and what the reason was exactly. They just knew the 11th. And so, but they're like, well, let's give them a call ahead of time and see if they're interested. And we're glad that they did. So we got the details, and then I called Kyle, of course, and said, okay, here's the situation, an 11-month-old, and this is what we know about this child. And then I went and ran a few errands. We kind of had it in our hearts, like, okay, we're probably doing this. And of course, we're full of adrenaline and nervousness, and like, okay, let's meet at home and let's talk. So I went and did a few more things, and then Kyle and I met at home around 5:00. And then you want to kind of share that story, your side of things, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, just the middle of the workday, and oh, I guess we're making a decision about this now. So, yeah, it's just I think with foster care, you just kind of have to be ready for the unknown, and
Any
given time, you might be called to make a decision that will impact your own family's immediate and long-term future, as well as the children in the family and all those involved with foster care. There's so many hands in this, so obviously weighing that decision was just put it into prayer and just felt affirmation about it and peace about it. So we're like, okay, we're doing it.
Mm-hmm. So about that time, we, like you said, we prayed about it, talked about it, and we're like, okay, deep breath, let's do it. And so we told the worker, and at that time, when we called the worker back, we learned it wasn't an 11-month-old, it was an 8-month-old, so a little more baby than we thought. So no, nothing against that. We were happy that it was a little bit younger. The child was a little bit younger. We knew it was a boy, so we said yes. And then we talked about that he needed a home on Monday, and we were thinking, well, we're home this weekend. Let's make it things sooner if they only plan on taking him for a few days. And so we convinced them to meet us either that evening or in the morning, and they said, okay, Saturday morning. So we had everything still packed. I mean, obviously we, opened our gifts at the shower, but not take them out of the boxes and put them in the location where we want them in the home. So that night we did that. So I said, we decided at like 5-6 o'clock or whatever on Friday, and I think we ran to Target or whatever and grabbed a few things that we didn't have, like diapers. And then we unpacked. And what does an 11 or an 8-month-old use? Does he need a floor mat? Does he need a bouncy? Does he, what size bottles should we, bring out? And so we had to go through all those things that we didn't know because we're first-time parents, and make those calls. So we did, and we stayed up to probably like 2 a.m. unpacking everything, and then got a little bit of sleep. But we could have slept in because we had a little bit of time in the morning. Obviously, we were just anxious and nervous, and we were excited to go. So, anything to add on that? No? Okay. And so we agreed to meet the worker at the agency to receive the child around 11 a.m. that day on Saturday, the 9th. And so we met at the agency, and it was drizzling rain, and yeah, and yeah, it was the only other car, because it was a Saturday, only other car in the parking lot. We pulled up, and she's giving the child a bottle, and she, got him out, handed him to me, and starts talking to us about a little bit more of his case. And we're like, okay, I'm standing here with this child that's gonna go live with me in the rain, and you're telling me stories about his background. It was just weird. And, just looking to Kyle, like, okay, I hope you're gathering all this information that typically I'd kind of be the one in social work background to like, okay, I understand, what, I don't know, all these things mean, court and stuff like that. But yeah, so I had the kid in hand, and so we talked for a few minutes. It wasn't very long, and we tried to stand under the car, and then we moved forward, said bye to the worker, and put C in his car seat, and then I sat in the back of the car with him, and he's just looking at me like, who are you and what am I doing here? And I just sat next to him, and I put my finger in his hand and just said, like, okay, buddy, like, yeah, I'm nervous too. I know you don't know who I am, but like, we'll get through this. I have his little picture here. I can't show you, but the picture of our first meeting in the car. And he said, we'll get through it. We'll figure this out. And then we got home, and we're like, what do we do now? What? And we FaceTime family so they could see him. And so that was exciting. And the next few days, and we just really started getting to know his personality and the joys of parenting. But along with that came a lot of, where do we start with this child? What can he do? What can't he do? What should he be doing? And we didn't know. Like, we knew he was healthy and that, like, he was mostly developmentally appropriate, but there's some areas to kind of pay attention to, which we noticed and we worked on with him over time. And so there's just a lot of, when an 8-month-old, right, what do they eat? Are they eating table food, or is he fully on bundles, or is just, baby food versus table food, and all of that. So those first few days, really, I hardly slept. I hardly ate. By the time I went back to work, I was starving and eating all the time. I'm like, I haven't eaten in 4 days, you guys. I'm so hungry. Just because I was constantly in the state of mind of this child. I have to pay attention to all of his needs, focus on everything, get him to his appointments and everything. And I think within those first 4 days, I had to go take him to get shots. Oh my gosh, that was the worst experience. It's a kid getting shots, but I just met this child, and now this is what I'm taking him to do.
His first interaction. Some of his first interactions with us.
Yes, I was so nervous. It was awful. But yeah, there's just so many unknowns that we had to figure out. And then on top of just being a parent, the things you learn with that. There's foster care duties, and while of course you have to take your child to get their immunizations and take them to get their medical exams, we had to make sure it was into the case manager right away, and that they had to come to our home and of course see the child, and all those different things that are added layers to it. But we were happy to have their support. We could talk to them about how we were feeling and he was doing, and our all of that. So it was support, but it was also a lot to plan for, especially because I only took a few days off work. And then we did proceed with, okay, what does our new normal look like with work and daycare? And, little by little, we did. We figured it out. And like I said to Chase that day, we'll figure this out. And we immediately, fell in love with him.
And I think that's a fair point to make on, for those who may be thinking about foster care, and is all the extra paperwork and all the things that you still have to do with parenting, but with foster care you have to then report it back to your caseworker and your licensing worker, give the statuses, and you have to be on top of all your documentation and getting that over to them clearly, appropriately, and timely. Otherwise, they might start, I don't know what's the right way to say it, come after you. They're not going to come after you, but they're just going to be like, hey, we need these things. We want to do our best job to support all entities in foster care. And one of the ways to do that is, and you do this so well, is to get the documentation timely and clearly to them. So it makes their job easier because they got enough on their plate.
Right. That's how we try to support the workers, is by getting everything into them immediately. So it's more pressure, but but it's also check, off my list. I got it done, and I like that. So so we want to talk a little bit about the things that we experienced as a parent, and I'm sure every parent, foster or not, that go through these type of things. But these are things that, and that first summer, what we experienced with not a newborn but an 8-month-old, that really just threw us through a curve that I was like, okay, this is what it takes. And then the fact that he was a little bit older, and we had to learn all that attachment and everything together, added some to it. So the first thing was I think it was the first week or two that we had him. My dad had a company event, and it was outdoors, and we were excited to go, and everyone to meet him, and obviously our family had met him at that point. But besides them, the person who I talked to on the call when I got that placement text message would be there. So we were excited, and so we went. Yeah, obviously we were eager to go to that event, and so that day he did not go down to sleep. Typically, he is like an amazing sleeper, and like we got so lucky with his sleeping abilities. But he wouldn't take a nap. I don't know what was the deal, but he was struggling that day. And by the time that we got to the point where he actually fell asleep, it was like, okay, you can have a half hour, and then you have to feed him, and we have to go to the event. And so that's what we did. We woke him up after probably half hour, maybe 45 minutes, and he takes like a few hour long naps. And we got him dinner, and then we went to the event. But then it was raining, and so we had to put, do you put this baby shield thing over them? Can they breathe? It's just like a whole thing of like what this looks like and how to navigate it. We were an hour late to the event, and while to some, like, okay, if it's just like a get together, it's not a big deal, but it was an event. And so to me, like, it was a big sacrifice. Like we tried everything to get there on time, but we did miss out on something, which it's okay. No one blamed us for it. They get it, first time parents here. But to me, it was like, we're missing it. And now really, that's, we're not supporting because we're late or whatever, just different conflicting feelings. It just wasn't fun. I like to be in control. And that was one of those things that, you kind of have to like relinquish a little bit and be like, okay, as a parent, you can't always be in control. And in foster care especially. But also from that experience, we learned that, okay, it's hard to talk with adults or even other children when you have a little one in your face. And I wore him in the baby carrier and had him in the stroller a little bit, but you always had to be like, okay, how is he doing? And okay, my mom has him. Is he doing okay? Does he need anything? It's a constant like checking in, and your mind's never fully not about a child anymore. And so we learned that, like, and that's something we obviously still are kind of experiencing is like, it's hard to have those conversations with people just in social settings when there's children with you. But in those things, those situations, we've also learned like the beauty that comes with that, which is, okay, he gets to bond with my mom and be another person to love and care about him and to, pour into his life. And while I can't have a conversation with her necessarily because we're talking about him and playing with him, it's okay because, him receiving that love is better than that. And I can put myself aside so that can happen, and so and just like I said, all the other people being able to support us and encourage us during those events and all others since then really is really cool just to see like how God's favor has been with us and supporting our relationship with these children, and then see in that situation, and then all the others that are able to like really love on them while they are living with us. So, and then another situation we had was we went camping that summer. So you want to talk a little bit more about that? What did the camping look like with a 10-month-old?
Yeah, it was. It just kind of, not to go too much into it, just to elaborate. Like we had planned a family trip, go camping, and it just kind of further kind of explains, like this story kind of explains just like our need for sacrifice and understanding new responsibilities. And so like camping, I mean, we don't camp too much ourselves anyways, so it was already a big kind of adventure for us, tent camping. But it was also with family and nieces and nephews. And so we were looking forward to spending time with them, but recognizing, now we have another person to, it's our responsibility to care for. And so just dealing with those, that conflict of just knowing entering into social times, just knowing the new responsibilities and
right.
Being ready for that.
Right. And one more experience, it was similar to camping. It was a cabin though. We went with friends, and it just was a big wake up call to us in terms of the sacrifice because, like the year prior, when there's no kids, we were all like able to just thought, hey, you want to go on the boat now? Sure. And so we could all just jump on the boat and go and not worry about the timing of things. And then then this time we were the only one with the child, and so it was, well, he needs to sleep, he needs to eat, we need to plan out our meals. You know, you can't just snack on things. He's on baby food. Like, there's specific order to things. We're very routine people, and it works for us and the children. And so even while having flexibility within that, it still was hard. Like, okay, we're limiting these people's fun now. You know, the fun that they get to have because we're on his schedule. And of course, you know, they did not show any of that. They were very accommodating and wanting to enjoy their time with him too. And, you know, along with like playing games and things like that, like we had to put him down to sleep during board game time or whatever. And we'd take turns doing things. And I think that was a big thing. Like, we learned how to take turns and to, you know, when one needs to take over from the other and what that looks like, and to support one another during those times when, like, there's a moment when I was just really frustrated. I wanted to be doing whatever it was. And, you know, Kyle coming in and being like, okay, let me take over. Like, I got it. It's okay. And it worked. The child went down. He went down to sleep more efficiently. So probably because I felt so nervous and anxious, and C was catching on to that, and that wasn't healthy for either of us. And so that's also a continual thing, of course, that we experience. But yeah, with all those things, like, I think we've just learned so many teachable moments during this first few months of what it looks like to have a child of a random age when you accept them, and then you're learning so many about things about them. They're learning about you and how to attach to you, and then it's okay, what does life look like, and what do we say yes to, and what do we say no to? And at this point, we know a little bit more of what to expect. And so when we go into these social things, we don't expect to get full conversations with people. We learn that if we want a deeper conversation with someone, it has to be after 8 o'clock when they go down to sleep, and or during lunch hour or something. And that's just what it is, you know, and I'm sure most parents can relate in that aspect. And so, yeah, so many beautiful, wonderful things, relationships have come out of, you know, the things that we have learned during this first few months of taking him, but also came with a lot of big wake up calls for us as well. So we wanted to kind of also now go into a different topic, which is, you know, kind of a fear a lot of people have. And that is the visitations. So, you know, sometimes we hear people make comments about like, oh, I can foster because I could never interact with a parent who did such and such to this child. You know, they must be this awful person or whatever. But the reality is, like, and I'm talking birth parents in general, like, they love their kids, and more often than not, they regret fully whatever it is that brought their kids into care, and they're, you know, kicking themselves for not being able to get to the point of reunification at this point. And, you know, they love their kids. Truly, fully believe they love their kids. And people make mistakes. And some mistakes are at the cost of the children. That's what causes foster care. But you know, we believe with the goal of foster care, which is to, you know, support the birth parents and support the children in their relationship with them, that parents, you know, foster, adopted, birth parents, any of us, like, we deserve to be treated with respect and grace. And so that is how we try to proceed when we do have interactions with the parents. So Kyle, you wanted to go a little further into that?
Yeah, I think for those that don't understand, like, I mean, you kind of explained it, but like, so visitations are a part of like the job description with foster care. So when you're signing up for this, depending on the case, but in most cases, you're going to be being a part of getting the children to these visitations with the bio parents. And so, like I said, depending on the case, it could be just a weekly supervised visits that happen at the agency, all the way to like they're spending the night over with the biological parents. So, yeah, there's definitely interactions with the parents at these, and that's another aspect of foster care that is beautiful, and it shines the gospel and opportunities for the gospel, is because obviously foster care exists because there's brokenness. Broken families, broken situations, and it's not just for the children. Foster care exists for the parents to have an opportunity to kind of get back on track. It gives them that time frame to prove and kind of get the appropriate things ready for them to have an appropriate situation and placement for their children. So yeah, so it definitely stretches us. It's something that we've been stretching. God's definitely turned our hearts towards is the biological parents, and they're God's kids too.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so yeah, it's just another piece of foster care to consider. So it's visits with the parents.
Yeah. And so for us, how this kind of unraveled is the first 3 months of our foster care journey was summer. Like I said, we got him in June, and so we didn't meet the parents at that point because the visits were in the middle of the day and we were working, and so we had arranged it with the with the caseworker to transport him from daycare back and forth for the visit, and so that's what happened there for the first 3 months. The week of Labor Day, we had actually gone to the visit ourselves because we were planning on going on that camping trip. And we were like, well, we'll go, we'll just head out right after the visit. And so we were together the first time we met mom and sisters, which was good because we had the support of one another. And then after that point, we started doing evening visits because school resumed for the older sisters, and so we continued to do visits after that point, transporting and then doing drop-off pickups, obviously, and having some interaction with the parents on a weekly basis. But that first interaction we had, I mean, we were so nervous, just not knowing what to expect. We thought, we are raising her child. Like, what does she think about us? How does she feel about us? These people who are, caring for her baby, and so we were just nervous about just what that looked like, and
there's a racial difference in our case, so that was definitely another piece of anxiety of not knowing how that was going to handle, how we're just
the acceptance of
her child being raised by white people.
Yeah. So, but the visit was fine.
Yeah.
It was completely fine. And so, we met her, we met the kids, and it was exciting and it was quick. And we dropped off, got something to eat, and then came back. And again, it was pretty quick. And okay, I guess we could just say bye. And so we did. And then we proceeded, like I said, to do visits every Thursday since then in the evenings. And so those interactions continued. So some of the things that we've done to help support that attachment with C, and then in the future with K, with the other siblings and the parents are, really just providing different things and such as information, but also like tangible things to help support that relationship. So we knew, how important it is that they attach to their family. And while C and K are little, we also knew that, even from the beginning, we don't want these children to have a loyalty conflict. We want them to know that like they can love us and they can love their mom, and that's good and that's okay. And that's what we want for them. Whatever happens in the future, we want them to have a relationship with their parents, obviously, and so they need to have that attachment and to really pour into it while we have the way that we're doing visits right now. So anyways, we provided lots of pictures. We've done a lot of pictures, special holidays, and we had a few like nice photo shoots and stuff like that done with them and got some really cute photos. We provided all those to them. Sometimes, we printed them out. Sometimes we texted them to the caseworker and she forwarded them on. Some other things we've done is making them crafts. Sometimes at random times, other times like Mother's and Father's Day. We've also, when their birthdays hit or when holidays come, we make sure that we dress them in their outfits that we had planned for them, or or still like Christmassy and things like that, so that they can still celebrate those times with them and feel like they're not missing out. They have their Christmas and their Easter, and Kay's still dressed up in her cute little foo dress with bows and everything, and so they can take their holiday pictures together. And then we also just try to provide information. This is what they're into right now. Kay really likes Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and C loves The Greatest Showman. If you play one of those songs, he will love it. It just allows them to know how to connect with them, because sometimes that can be tough when they're only seeing each other once a week, and so it allows that to bridge the gap a little bit, and so try to support that relationship on different levels. So, we know, even though sometimes it can be awkward, the interactions of when C calls me mom in front of him, in front of her, it's awkward, but we found a way to make it work. And so we just use everything as teachable moments for ourselves, for the kids, and really try to, make sure that they know who their family is, and all the sisters' names, and really so they can keep that attachment to them. So, and during COVID-19, we've been doing visits by Zoom. So it's been a little bit different, but we've been still able to do all those things and have actually a little bit more communication with them during that time, because it's just a different setting. So, when looking at foster care, we recognize that there are so many unknowns, so many things that are completely out of our control. and we choose, daily to just recognize that God's got this, and we can be upset about things, but we know that in the end God's got it, and it's going to be okay, and we are supporting whatever God's plan is for these children. And I think Frozen 2 really just has some good illustrations of the situation. And as Elsa says, when we accepted little C into our home, we entered into the unknown. and with every decision that we have coming up, every decision that we make moving forward in this foster care journey, we also, for Frozen 2, just try to do the next right thing. And so I just thought those quotes really, we sing it loud in our home because it's so true. There's so many unknowns, and this is the life God has for us. So we're in.
Yeah, and just to kind of bring this to a close, going back to Reframing Foster Care book, there's early on in the chapter, it talks all about unknowns, and he actually calls it the mercy of not knowing. And I think it is a mercy of God, because it's being kind to our hearts to not always have all the details, even though we want to know the details, not to have control, because it puts us in a place of humility, it puts us in a place of trust, it puts us in a place of submission. And our part is to love the kids, and to love the parents, and love the people, all the people that are involved with this. And as much as we want to know the details and to see the outcomes that we desire, it's not about us. Right. Foster care exists to, reunify the children with their parents, and we have a part in that. And reunification is about restoring relationships, and that's what the gospel's about, right? The gospel's about taking we've chosen and we sin and we have a sinful nature and we're separated from relationship with God, and the gospel and the work of Jesus Christ dying on the cross for our sins, and creating an opportunity for us to know again and have a right relationship with the Father. It's the gospel. Foster care is the gospel on display, and we get a part of entering into that. And though the system is full of brokenness and darkness and sometimes feels like corruption, the heart of the gospel has an opportunity to shine through it, and in so many clear ways. So I just wanted to read a quick quote here to kind of close this out. God will intentionally, lovingly, and mercifully refrain from providing us with certain pieces of information at certain times along our journeys, not to deprive us of knowing things, but to protect us from the burden of knowing too much, too soon, a seemingly subtle distinction with significantly different implications. This mercy of not knowing, in fact, is one of his most profound acts of mercy towards us. He says go, and When we ask where, He simply encouraged us to not worry about that, just to trust Him. So yeah, again, please reach out to us if anything's like prompting you to consider this or have questions, or even share your experiences in the comments on this video. It'd be awesome. We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely.
Thanks again.
All
We'll
right,
see you
thank
next
you.
week for round 3. Bye.